Yes, teacher Ambrose from Riverflow. Now, today I'm here to share with you one of the parts of the body. You know, whenever we are packing our science kit, we put in the models. And when we open up the kit with models, most learners are excited to see the models. Even some teachers and some parents, they are all excited looking at the models. So, do you know how we can use these models while teaching and learning? Actually, there are some models that when we give the learners and when you are teaching, instead of them focusing on the parts we are talking about, they're actually focusing on the model, how it is made. So, today I want to share with you one of the models, the most interesting model, and this model is what we call the ear. This is the model of the ear. So when you have this, you are teaching using this. It shows all the parts of the ear. You know, most of us think and know that the ear is this have touched. It's what we best people normally see. But we can, when we could look at this, actually what we have inside is bigger than what we are seeing outside. Meaning the big part of the ear is inside. This is the ear, as I can say, and this ear of mine has different parts. We want to talk about some of the parts and probably some few functions and how surely do we hear using this ear. So this is the ear. Our ear is divided into three parts. That is the outer ear, then the middle ear, and what we call the inner ear. So the three parts that we have or that make the ear is outer, the middle, then the inner. Now the outer part of the ear, it is this one that is composed of the pinna, and this is the part we call pinna, and this rod, the rod-like, it is called the auditory canal. What is the use of this rod? This rod is to pass or to allow waves move from the pinna, because this pinna collects the sound waves from the environment or from the atmosphere. Then it passes through the auditory canal. This one that looks like a rod, like a channel. Then it goes into this, the most sensitive part of the ear that we call the eardrum. We all know the drum. When you hear the word drum, if you could get like a Sirius and you put on drum, then you hit on it, then you will see the Sirius moving up and down. That is what we call vibration. In other words, the use of this eardrum, the use of this eardrum is to change these waves into the vibration, meaning that the sound we are going to hear has changed the second time from waves to vibration. Now, here we have the bones. We normally call them ossicles, the three small bones of the ear. Actually, the smallest bone in the body, it is this one that we call the stirrup. Now, these three small bones, their function is to transmit the vibration through the middle ear. It goes into this part that is looking like a coil, the coiled part of the ear that we call the cochlea. Now, here in cochlea, there are hair-like structures that help to change the vibration into the impulses. I mean, they are like nerve messages. And these nerve messages, they pass through what we call the auditory nerve. These are what we call the auditory nerves. And this auditory nerve, their function is to send or to take these messages to the brain. And why are they going to the brain? They are going to the brain in order to be interpreted. If someone calls you a name, Teacher Ambrose, then you pass through that person I have explained for you to hear that someone is calling you. Then you respond. So when I explain to you, it takes something like minutes and hours, but it happens within micro and microsecond. There are some parts I have not talked about, and someone was like, hey, but those parts for them, they are not considered, like this part and this part. You look at this road that slopes down. This is a road we call eustachian tube. This tube connects the ear to the throat. In other words, for example, when someone is eating, he's able to hear. Why are you hearing while you're eating? It is this part that equalizes the air pressure between the outside and the inside, most especially when someone is eating. Then here we have something looking like a semicircle. And from them looking like a semicircle, they gotten a name called semicircular canal. So these semicircular canals, Their function is to balance the body. Actually, is where I was, and someone asked me, what are the functions of the ear? And I said, ears have like 2 functions scientifically, but mostly they are 3. That is hearing, as we have seen, then body balance, and there are these semicircular canals. So this semicircular canal, they help us in balancing. Do you know the reason why people stagger when they drink a lot of alcohol? Because this part of the ear semicircular canal is affected by too much drinking of alcohol. So when you drink a lot of alcohol, this part is damaged, and so you cannot balance it very well. Someone want to ask me the 3rd function of the ear. Oh, I leave it for you, and you also tell me, but the ear has 3 functions, as we can say. I've said 2. Let me see the 3rd one in the comment section. Thank you so much for moving with me, Teacher Ambrose.